This is Automotive Advertising with your hosts Jim Flint and Janine Loving Drake.
All right. So welcome to our Automotive Digital Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Janine Loving Drake, and I'm here with Jim Flint.
Hi, Janine. How are things?
Good. Owner and founder of Local Search Group. Today we were going to be talking about what we've labeled the Innovation Station.
Isn't that a cool name?
I like it.
Yeah.
Did you just think of that?
Yeah, marketing magic right there in the moment.
Yes, it's marketing gold.
Yes.
So Innovation Station, which is, we're going to touch on 5 cool things that have to do with, different ways that consumers are consuming information and some of the ways that we track that information. So, give
our listeners kind of that automotive advertising edge, right? That little extra something, because we're all looking for what's new and how do we move ahead and use the ideas that are out there to our competitive advantage.
Yeah, I think things change so quickly, and even I watch my children consume things, and the way that they consume things is completely different than the way I consume things. So so there's always different platforms.
They were so like Snapchat 2 years ago, and that's so yesterday now.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They do. Like, I still catch some of that, but it's shifted. Not necessarily. They haven't dropped it completely. It's just kind of shifted too.
No, things happen. Yeah. Twitter kind of went through a down period before they're back at it now for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I think they try to maybe are trying to reinvent themselves as well.
Yes.
So really cool stuff. So I'll give you kind of a broad view of what we'll be talking about. But one is OTT.
That's a buzzword. I know we talked about digital retailing in podcast 5, but bigger buzzword, OTT or digital retail? OTT isn't it?
Well, I think so. I think it's more of a thing, right?
Okay.
It's concrete. So OTT, YouTube, Amazon, in-store conversions, and Facebook lead generation is kind of what we'll be talking. And I'll start with OTT. So it's if it's not an acronym, it's not allowed in the delership world, is what I think is the thing. So the acronym stands for over the top. I honestly don't know if it makes sense, but it's basically streaming video content, right? So showing your advertising spots in videos that are streaming versus like live cable TV or live television. It's much more affordable. There's a lot of different ways that you can target different audiences, which I have found to be super helpful with different dealers in different demographics, right? So if you're a Honda dealer, but you want to get out the word that you work on all makes and models, you can actually target like different model owners, make owners. So it's depending on the message that you want to get out there. There's really interesting ways that you can hyper target. But I think more importantly than ever is I have actually talked to people. There's 2 different people. So there's cord cutters and there's cord nevers, which I never thought was a thing. But so there's actually people that have never paid for cable. How shameful and sad for them, because it's a bill that I wish every month would just go away. And so
now you've got that bill, plus you probably got Netflix,
right?
And that charge.
And my Amazon Prime.
Right. And then I know your children, I think, are in college, but you basically have Disney spinning off of Netflix.
Right.
And they're coming to market with their own little OTT action.
Have you ever looked at your subscription list on your bill?
Like iTunes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to clean it up recently. I was like, I gone a little bit too far and had too many like monthly subscriptions. Yeah. And even Pandora. Like that's when you know we're in trouble, because Pandora's got video components to their audio foundation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So and I'm not going to say that they're OTT, but if you think about what OTT is, it's like streaming video.
Yep.
That would qualify. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different avenues but
sure.
it's basically streaming. So, you could be looking at your cell phone, and it could be something that you're streaming on live TV on your television set. So, like, it's a good thing to mention, but it's a very, I think it's a way that you can get in front of consumers that you are not hitting now.
That's true, and
via video,
for sure. And as you look at that space, you can see the cable bill moving over to the OTT bill or your iTunes bill or however you're going to compile that information. And you think about Hulu, for example. Mm-hmm. And let's be clear, Netflix to date doesn't have advertising. But I think that business model, not unlike Facebook's, eventually will lend itself to advertising because they have a subscription base and they're going to be looking to meet and make shareholder value. So as companies like Disney come off and people will reduce the subscriptions that they have in order to move over, Disney is now packaging with ESPN.
Okay.
Right? And they're also packaging with Hulu.
Okay.
And those companies are already thinking about the advertising piece.
Sure.
And so as that comes together and there's value because consumers carry their smartphone with them everywhere, we've got to figure out how to get in front of the right people at the right time in the right moments.
Correct. Right. Yeah, it's a big, broad audience, so I would highly suggest talking to your agency rep about OTT and getting in front of them with some type of OTT strategy. We'll give you a nice, well-rounded marketing strategy for your store. And then, it's funny, but like this, it's actually, when you think about OTT, it's kind of in a roundabout way been around for years, right? Through YouTube, which is our number two
on our list. And YouTube is the power of YouTube, right? Because I think you look at the others and they're kind of getting everything together. And what YouTube has that the others don't, they've got that Google foundation. And so when you know what it is that Google knows about consumers, you know that their auto and tender audiences and the different target audiences that you can create with the emails that you upload into their system, keeping it private, right? But you can take known audiences, create like buyers, and then advertise to them on the YouTube. We'll call it OTT, but it's the OTT that's really an extension of Google search. And that in and of itself makes it incredibly valuable. Okay,
so what you're saying is the dealership customer list. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to work with, this is the big data, the DMS. It's called hashing. So you take the information that you have from your DMS and you upload, and really all we need as the advertising agency is the email address. We don't need all the VIN numbers and phone numbers and addresses and those things. Because what Google knows or Facebook knows about that information is dependent upon the privacy settings of the individual, where and what websites they've been to and where and what locations they've been to. And with that, we say, take that audience and use the data, move it aside, because we don't want to necessarily market to people who've already bought, right? We want to market to people that look like the people who've already bought. And so they do the mashup with their algorithm. And then we're sitting on the phone in front of the right person at the right time with the right message. Okay, so are you saying that maybe my neighbor, right, that just bought a car from McGrath Honda, I'm just going to throw a name out there, so say my neighbor has just purchased a vehicle there. They're on their customer list. So you can actually take that data and maybe me as maybe a neighbor or something like that or a friend of a friend will be served up an ad based on the facts. So now I've seen my neighbor just pulled up in a brand new Honda CRV and now I'm getting ads for the CRV. Yeah, so there's that. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, Big Brother, man. 1984, George Orwell. It's not video. It's your phones, right? Yeah. That data of you moving around. And I think probably because you're at home looking at all kinds of dealership websites, right? And you're looking at AutoTrader and Cars.com, your behavior online, maybe Google knows you're an account director, right? Maybe. Or they think you're a car shopper. Probably they think you're a car shopper. So yeah, that's why you'd be getting ads like that. Yeah, that's interesting. Sure. That's interesting. But the capabilities are there. And to your point, I think,
big data is Google. So, the more information, the better. And then you can get us hyper-targeted with your message as well, right?
For sure. And I think for me, the natural segue as we cover off on more of these is, the in-store visits aspect of Google search.
Yeah.
So they have recently reinvented their dealer playbook. And with that, there's in-store visits as one of the conversion characteristics. And I think that's very important because we know consumers are visiting fewer than 2 dealerships in their process to purchase. We also know, interestingly, that the service side of our business is more lucrative, i.e. on a percentage basis, it's more profitable. We need the whole operation to work together, but if I can do things on a service campaign that I'm confident will bring people into the store, that can be very powerful.
Absolutely.
And the same thing on the shopping side. So as we move further into the detail, if you've ever used Google Maps, it knows where you are down to like the front of a building, or we've started even in mall situations to know which stores you're in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We were in the mall this weekend and we looked at, my wife and I, we mapped ourselves via Google Maps to another location, and even helped me on the, go to the second floor elevator, and 75 yards down, and you could see each of the stores. So I think ultimately we're going to start to see Google Maps define, and there are some clients of ours where this is already happening, the service department and the sales department. And I think that's very, very powerful, because if we can know on in-store conversions, whether somebody's going to service or sales, we can refine our bidding strategies even further. Yeah. I'm excited about it. You can hear the enthusiasm in my voice.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think Google's been talking about it for a while, right? About the in-store visits and on a practical level, how do you see that working for us in the future?
I think it's part of the conversion tracking elements. I went to Digital Marketing Strategies conference, and in it, I listened to Experian talk about their data sets. And we're looking for perfect predictors. And it's a cautionary tale. The models that say they're perfect predictors are like the ones that guarantee that you'll be number 1 in SEO. There's no guarantees. Like, you can't do that. And you can't say that a model perfectly predicts when it is somebody will buy. I mean, the weather is actually arguably a better predictor of when somebody will buy than a vendor who says they can do 100% guarantee. Right? Because as temperatures go up, typically there are more car sales because the seasonally adjusted annual rate. We're sitting here in August, it's really hot, and it's not necessarily correlated. It's just people have been conditioned to think that the model you're in is a really good time to buy cars. And there's huge amounts of advertising out there convincing them and compelling them to make a move in that direction.
Yeah.
And then as we go into the colder months, I know a lot of our clients are probably thinking, well, December is a really good time too. It is. So I'm not going to take that away from this conversation, but I will say that 5 of the worst 6 months actually happen during the winter time, which is effectively September through February.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So you've got a lot of knowledge that's working together to help get better advertising in front of consumers at the right time. And YouTube and Google with the in-store conversions, I just think we're scratching the surface.
Yeah.
And literally in the last week, we've had additional clients added to the in-store conversion process.
Awesome.
And so I'm excited about the data, shift and measure, keep getting the data back and trying to improve the edge that our clients have.
Right. Yeah, good stuff. So we've talked about OTT, hit on YouTube, and in-store conversions. Another big player is Amazon.
And I think, interestingly enough, I mentioned Netflix earlier. Amazon's going to play out, and they're starting to, dealers have been worried, is Amazon going to get in the car business? I never thought they were. In fact, I was at NADA earlier this year, and we have an online blog and video that you can see on my LinkedIn page. And basically, I said that Amazon was going to get into the advertising side of the car business, not into the net to sales selling of the car business, because there's huge capital expense associated with the land, huge interaction with employees, huge interaction with consumers. So that business model to produce small results doesn't make sense. But the business model where they make 30 plus, almost 38% margin on advertising is a good model for them. And so we also have over 120 million people. We are online, and we put our cars in the Amazon garage. And so with that detail, they can tell us if we're buying the right accessories. That's valuable to me as a consumer.
Right.
They can tell me if I'm getting the right floor mats for the year, the make and model that I have. And then we have trusted information. So they've started advertising on their owned and operated platforms. So when people are doing you said it earlier, it's like there's a search bar at the top of Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. And so they also know, because of the cookies in your surfing habits, where you've been. And if you look like a car buyer, they'll start serving up ads with car banners. It's like the Amazon display network. It's the equivalent of the Google display network. They're banner ads, right?
Are these tier 3 banner ads that we're talking about, or?
Right now they're playing mostly, and we're playing with them in the tier 2 space.
Okay.
Because their requirements are higher spends on a monthly basis.
Oh.
But what we're also seeing is they're getting into the pre-roll video space. There's opportunities with Kindle. So Amazon is a huge machine, right, that is going to continue to push that envelope forward. And they've just now, in this calendar year, gotten into this space.
Okay.
And so we're starting to get back, at a tier 2 level, some of the first reports on how they're performing. So what we've got to figure out for our clients, which you can learn more about in episode 2, is value. Right? What's the value? Is the CPM in line with what we'd expect for automotive intenders?
Yeah.
Don't know yet, but we'll be excited to report back.
Yeah, makes sense. That's interesting. I'd love to see what happens with that in the future. And the last big player we have to talk about is Facebook. And they're making some changes, have made some changes. One of the, I think it's been a tough chase for, we talk about last click attribution. I don't want to get too far off in the weeds, but
You're sounding kind of googly there.
No, I'm sounding kind of googly there. But what made that person convert?
They are, and I think the challenge for them is Google's always been very disciplined, very structured, and Facebook, has been more of the cool kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now they're trying to be a little bit of each other.
Yeah, they're kind of just the social media.
They are. They were, yes.
Player.
And what do you think is happening with Facebook? You said they're trying to evolve. Where are you seeing that evolution?
Yeah, so I think that they've kind of learned that advertising is an incredibly important piece of what they do. And so they have what are called Facebook lead generation ads that are on Facebook, right? So we talked about speed being so important for consumers, and how many clicks do they have to take to get to where they want to be, right? Like right now, digital retailing doesn't look so great because when you walk them through the 11 steps of digital retailing, who wants to do that?
No.
So
I'd rather go to the dentist.
I'd rather go to the dentist or the DMV. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, it gets that bad.
Yeah.
So what Facebook has done is, instead of driving that traffic to the dealer site, maybe to the VDP or whatever, so hoping and praying that they convert, all they have to do is click on the link and they can convert right there on Facebook with lead generation.
Because it already pre-populates the information and it's accurate.
Scary.
Do you have the right information on your Facebook?
Yes, I do.
do.
Yeah, I do. So as long as it's the correct information, they just click a button. I mean, it is click, click, and they get all the information that they need. It passes on directly to the dealer. We found a way to get those leads to go directly into your CRM, and then it's a lot more easily trackable, because I think that has been a pain point for a lot of dealers. Is this Facebook thing? Are these ads really working?
Remember, does Facebook sell cars?
Yeah.
They're trying to overcome that now, and
yeah.
I'll give them credit for this too, because we're piloting some things with them on in-store visits, right? So once you aggregate group information, it's helpful because have they seen the ad and are they coming to the showroom?
Yeah.
And so as far as the innovation station goes, I like that Google, right, and Facebook are in a race to try to better understand. And, the challenge is going to be the privacy of it all.
Yes.
I don't know, and nor do I want to know down to the individual level.
Yeah.
I do want to know at the aggregate, though. Did this ad go to Janine Loving Drake, and did it result in traffic at my location?
Right.
And I can feel much better about the advertising that I'm doing if I have that confidence about the trackability.
Yeah.
And that's what the innovation station is taking us to. That's where the train's headed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Is it truly tracking conversion? So it's really, it's great to see how that's evolved. And I'm so glad that we did this podcast. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Thank you. This is Janine Loving-Drake. I'm Jim Flint, and this is the Automotive Advertising Podcast. Thank you for your time.
You've been listening to Automotive Advertising with your hosts Jim Flint and Janine Loving-Drake. Thanks for listening.